Let me begin by saying just how good it is to be back from the Holy Land. I need the rest. Like my sabbatical, this was as much a learning experience as anything else I had ever done. Unlike my sabbatical, there was not much time for rest and rejuvenation. That's why, although away from the daily work of the parish, this was not a vacation in the usual sense, but a real spiritual journey, and one I feel blessed to have shared with my wife. With the help of our spiritual guide, our group truly became pilgrims in a foreign land, seeking a truth that cannot be found in any other way than journeying together in faith. And what a journey it was. In a couple of weeks, once I've had a chance to sort through some 2,800 pictures that Sharon and I took, and the notes that I took during the day, Sharon and I will gladly share with you the story of our time in Israel. In the meantime, our Facebook post that we set out each day will have to do. And if you are on Facebook and are not part of our group and did not see our pictures, then see me after the service. Over the last 2 weeks, I thought, if we as a parish, like the group Sharon and I traveled with, are on our own journey of faith, the road to relationship, if you will, then like our group, we should not be surprised if we run into some interesting characters or challenges along the way. Why? Because while we may all be searching for that same truth, we all come for different reasons. And then when we encounter that truth, the challenge we face is recognizing it when we see it. Having just spent 10 days on such a journey, meeting some interesting characters and overcoming a few personal challenges, I'd like to share with you something about one interesting character I met along the way. One who I struggled a little bit to accept. The character I met was not someone who I traveled with, although those who know me know that every once in a while I roll my eyes and say, "Thank you, Jesus." I did a bunch on this trip. It was not someone I encountered along the way, although running into someone dressed up as Jesus outside the tomb at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre was a bit unnerving. The character I met was me. Have you ever met yourself? It can be an interesting, eye-opening experience. Don't get me wrong, I met Jesus on the trip too. And in the thin spaces, I really did feel a special connection with him. But it was me that bothered me, if you will. From the very beginning of the trip, the truth I sought was a deeper relationship with Christ, and through that relationship, an awareness of God's grace and mercy so powerfully made manifest that I could come back and share it with all of you and those the Holy Spirit sends to our community in a way that just sets your heart ablaze for a relationship with Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior. I prayed that prayer at almost every stop we made along our journey, hoping and praying I would not miss it when it came, knowing that it surely had to be right in front of me when it did. And as I prayed, this question kept coming to me. What was I really seeking? And of course my answer is the Lord. And repeatedly, I felt him say to me, "Well, Tom, here I am." To which I would say, "Where?" Certainly he wasn't in these other pilgrimage groups that were there who clamored to be close to him at the various pilgrimage sites. At some of the sites, it was literally like mass hysteria, as everyone pushed and shoved and elbowed to get to be the next one at the spot where Jesus is presumably to have been. And I struggled to find grace and love in those visits because so many seemed unchristian. The Church of the Nativity frustrated me to no end. Yet it was at the site of Golgotha, the place of the crucifixion. It was even worse. As we waited our turn to touch the rock upon which the cross once sat, we were crushed, literally, by crowds trying to be the next one to touch that rock. And as my anger intensified, one of their group members asked, "Why do they have to be so rude?" Then it hit me. This is what it must have been like when he was alive. Everyone wanting to get close to him as possible. Pushing and shoving to find their place at his side. In hopes that even the touch of his cloak, like Matthew tells us of the woman who bled for 12 years, we might find healing, hope, and grace in our lives. Without realizing it, I was doing the same thing. And when I saw this in myself, I wondered if it was really me. At first, I didn't want to believe it. To me, my actions were righteous. They were the ones trying to cut in line and come between me and Jesus. And I was just trying to hold my own. They were the ones who were being inconsiderate. They were the ones who were being rude. And this was on my mind as I was prepared to answer this fellow group member, and we were being wronged. And I was about to empathize with her, but something came over me, standing 20 feet from the place that Jesus was crucified. I had seen myself in these other people. Like them, I wanted nothing more than to be close to Jesus. And I saw in myself a judgmental nature that had blinded me from seeing my own faults. Turning to the person who asked me the question, I responded, "If this is the suffering we must endure to get close to Christ, it is nothing like the suffering Christ endured to get close to us." And I'm not sure exactly where those words came from. As I said, I wanted to empathize with this person and berate those around us. But as I said this, I sensed a peace in the midst of the surrounding chaos. And when it came my turn to reach down and touch the rock, in my heart I heard the words, "Let it go. Let it go." In letting go of the rising tension my frustrations with others have created, I felt that forgiveness of the cross that was offered. When we let go of those things that keep us, that blind us from seeing God's grace and love made real in Jesus Christ. Unfortunately, my answer did not help dissuade this person's aggravation. And in the frustration that was showing on their face, I saw myself again. It's no secret. I get frustrated almost every day with something. We all do, don't we? The question is, how do we deal with it? We can either lash out, as both I and this other person wanted to do, or we can let it go and let Christ replace it with grace and love. There's no doubt Nicodemus was frustrated with Jesus' teaching. He must have really almost reached his wit's end to confront Jesus, saying, "How can anyone be born again? How can anyone be born again when they have already grown old?" And Jesus seems equally as frustrated with him when he says, are you a teacher of the law? And you don't understand these things? This could have really turned into a heated debate. Instead, it turns into a moment of grace, even if it wasn't realized at that point. When Jesus says he knows that it's hard for us to understand what we do not understand. Now, this may sound a little bit like double talk, but it's Jesus' way of saying to Nicodemus and to us, it's okay. We're human. And as such, there are some things that will always be frustrating to us. For instance, how can we speak of a single one God, yet believe in a holy trinity of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit? And the only answer I can give is the one Jesus gives Nicodemus. Don't worry about it. It is really. Trust in God. And when the time is right, we will be given the answer. We will be given what we need to understand. Just as I had received that night at the foot of the cross. What is it we need? We've been talking about it for 6 weeks. We need to see the grace and love of God that surrounds us. One thing I learned on this pilgrimage, seeing is the first step to believing. And while we cannot see with our eyes, we must try to see with our hearts. When we do, we see something we may not have seen before. Ourselves. Not as we see ourselves, but as God sees us. And when we do, we find and see the grace of and love of God that we all want to know. Amen. Amen.